السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلله فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما أما بعد إن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. Alhamdulillah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brings us by His grace and His mercy to Jumu'ah every Friday and gathers us as a community in this masjid. And every khutbah the khatib comes up and he stands and he delivers a reminder to us. And almost every khutbah we hear certain ayat being recited in the beginning of the khutbah, following the tradition of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And of these ayat, they go by so quickly, but they are very powerful ayat that are mentioned every Friday for a reason, for their importance and for their weight. And today I wanted to focus on one ayat that is recited almost every khutbah, and I just recited it myself in the beginning, where based on following the tradition of the Prophet ﷺ, where we remind every one of us that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in Surah Ali Imran, Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu, O you who believe, ittaqullaha haqqa tuqatihi, have taqwa of Allah as is deserving of Him. وَلَا تَمُوتُنَّ إِلَّا وَأَنْتُمْ مُسْلِمُونَ, and do not die, do not find yourself in that position of death, except that you are amongst those who submit to Him. And this is a very powerful ayah that is mentioned throughout every Friday for us to hear. And it's something that sometimes we hear it and we don't even know that we've heard this ayah. It passes by so quickly and it hasn't affected us in any way. And that's the first thing we need to think of for ourselves, is when we hear the ayat of Allah Ta'ala being recited to us, when we hear His verses, His words, the words of the Creator of the heavens and the earth, how does that make us feel? Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala in Surah Al-Anfal, He says, إِنَّمَا الْمُؤْمِنُونَ الَّذِينَ إِذَا ذُكِّرَ اللَّهُ وَجِلَتْ قُلُوبُهُم, that the true believers are the ones that when Allah is mentioned, their hearts tremble. وَإِذَا تُلِيَتْ عَلَيْهِمْ آيَاتُهُ, and when His ayat are recited upon Him, زَادَتْهُمْ إِيمَانًا وَعَلَى رَبِّهِمْ يَتَوَكَّلُونَ, their iman increases, and upon their Rabb they have trust. And this was the attitude of the Sahabi. When they would hear a verse from the Quran, they would be paying attention to it. And then furthermore, the Sahabi, they said, whenever we heard a verse that says, Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu, when it begins with, O you who believe, that our ears would perk up, that our ears would start listening attentively, because for sure now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is addressing each and every one of us. All of those of us who claim to have iman, who believe, are being addressed by Rabbul Alameen, by the Rabb, the Lord of the worlds. And so our ears perk up. Similar to like if you hear your name being called out, whether it's by your parents, by the CEO of a company, by whoever it is, if it's somebody of stature that you feel your name is called out, your ears perk up and you say, what are they asking for? And so when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala addressed us, we have to follow that tradition of paying attention what is being heard. And this was the condition of the Sahabi radiallahu anhum jam'in. When they heard this ayah, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu, have taqwa of Allah as is deserving of Him. They didn't just let this ayah pass by and just said, okay, alhamdulillah, that's a good reminder. They had genuine concern. They said, we are being addressed and we are being ordered by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to have consciousness of Allah the way He is deserving of Him. And they said, oh Prophet of Allah, how can we do this? How can any of us truly have taqwa of Allah as is deserving of His majesty? And they expressed this concern. They didn't just let the ayah pass by. And then after this, it's narrated that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He revealed another ayah, Surah Al-Ghabun, it says, فَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ مَسْتَطَعْتُمْ. You believe, have taqwa of Allah as much as is possible. مَسْتَطَعْتُمْ, as much as you can. And this, again, we have to understand this ayah as well. None of us should take this ayah as saying, okay, great, Allah Ta'ala gave me an opportunity, an out, where, I can have taqwa of Allah this much, and that's what Allah says, this is how much I think I can have taqwa of Allah. We should never perceive this ayah to be that. But rather, it's a mercy of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, where He knows that each and every one of us can never truly achieve the taqwa of Allah as is deserving of Him. And we will not be judged on that, but rather we will be judged on our effort. If we mastata'tum, as much as we can. And we will each be judged on how much we have taqwa of Allah in terms of what we're able to do. And whether we are striving truly to fulfill that need. And this is what we'll be judged on. And so, then commenting on this ayah, because how do we do this? How do you have taqwa of Allah? How do you strive for having taqwa of Allah as much as is deserving of Him? It's narrated that Ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anhu about this ayah. He said that this type of taqwa is one that you remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and you don't forget Him. The first thing. And he says that you are thankful to Him and you are not ungrateful to Him. And third, that you obey Him and you do not disobey Him. These are the three ingredients to having taqwa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as much as possible. And for many of us, the first aspect of this, that we remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and don't forget Him. This is the first challenge. The first challenge. Because for us to remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to have that mushahada, where we see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in all of our affairs. That when we walk out of the house, we see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We see His mercy when we enter the car. When we read the du'as that we read, we say, Subhanalladhi sakhara lana hada. We're not just reading these du'as so we don't get a ticket from the police, or we don't think, it's not something superficial, but rather we're saying, Subhanallah, glory to be to Allah who gave me this car by which I'm able to travel, and I would never have been able to do it myself. And when we exit the house, we see the weather, we say, Alhamdulillah. We look outside and you see the greenery. You see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's ayat, and see Him bring back the dead to life, where we had drought and things were so dry. And you can't imagine that there's still life in those hills that are so dark. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends His mercy down and they come back to life. And you see the greenness. These are all ayat for us to reflect upon. And so for many of us, it is remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and knowing Allah. For us to really remember Allah, the first aspect of it is knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala comes through both reflection of His ayat, reflection, looking around us, observing His signs, and then also knowing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through His names and His attributes. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He teaches us about Himself through His many names. And for us to claim that we love Allah, that we have this affection for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we have to ask ourselves, how much do I even know about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? How attached am I to His names? Are they things is it something that I study? Is it something that I reflect upon? Because the more we learn about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His names, the more our connection with Allah increases. Do we feel that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Ar-Rahman? Do we feel that He is Ar-Rahim? Do we know that He is Al-Halim, the forbearing, the one who lets us make mistake after mistake, but He doesn't take us to account right away. He gives us opportunity after opportunity. And so for us, it's really to take a step back and make sure that we have committed ourselves to knowing more about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That the only way for us to truly have that taqwa of Him is to invest our time into learning about Allah. And we find in the Quran where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He mentions many of His names. We know when we look at the masajid, usually you see the 99 names of Allah. And we see them and they're in our homes oftentimes. And many kids have them memorized, many of us have it memorized, and you listen to it. But how are we doing in terms of reflecting upon it? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He reminds us though of His names, and He puts them in perspective for us throughout the Quran. For example, in Surah Luqman, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلَوْ أَنَّ مَا فِي الْأَرْضِ مِنْ شَجَرَةٍ أَقْلَامٌ وَالْبَحْرُ يَمُدُّهُ مِنْ بَعْدِهِ سَبْعَةُ أَبْحُرٍ مَا نَفِذَتْ كَلِمَاتُ اللَّهِ إِنَّ اللَّهَ عَزِيزٌ حَكِيمٌ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He tells us that in terms of His knowledge and His wisdom, that even if all the trees on the earth were pens, and the seas that we had were ink, and you multiply them by 7 times, that even then Allah's words would not be exhausted. That indeed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He is Al-Aziz, He is Al-Hakim, He is the mighty, He is the most wise. For us, we can't even fathom the wisdom of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has prepared everything for us, situation by situation. Ibn al-Qayyim, he mentions this. He says, if we really truly try to ponder upon the wisdom of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says, had Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala lifted the veil for His slave, and He had shown him how He handles his affairs for him, and how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is more keen for the benefit of each one of us, more so than we are of ourselves, that our hearts would have melted out of the love for Allah, and we would have been torn to pieces out of thankfulness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Had we truly known how many accidents Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saved us from, because we remembered His name, because we said Bismillah. When we got to work safety, how many things had to work in order for me to leave my house and get to work safely? How many times, if any of us have kids, we've seen them fall so closely near something sharp. You see little children walking around, stumbling around, you say, Subhanallah, This is a sign of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protecting them. That how many times could they have been injured? How many times could they have hurt themselves and burned themselves, etc.? And how many times has Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protected us? Were Allah to lift the veil and show us how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala conducted His affairs and how merciful He was for us, that our hearts would have melted in love for Allah. And we would have been torn to pieces in terms of being thankful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this would drive us closer to Him. Also in Surah Luqman, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلَئِن سَأَلْتَهُمْ مَنْ خَلَقَ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ لَيَقُولُنَّ اللَّهِ قُلِ الْحَمْدُ لِلَّهِ بَلْ أَكْثَرُهُمْ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ. And if you ask them who created the heavens and the earth, please brothers, try to move up. Jazakumullah khair. There's people in the back who need to sit. Jazakumullah khair. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, and if you were to ask them who created the heavens and the earth, who provided all of what we have, they would have said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Allah says, say all praise is due to Allah. قُلِ الْحَمْدُ لِلَّهِ بَلْ أَكْثَرُهُمْ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ. But most people, they don't know. Most people don't know. Most people haven't taken the time to reflect upon this. To reflect upon the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Reflect upon His signs. And let that sink in, so it is a true source of knowledge. When we think about how much Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us, and His mercy, when we think about His attributes as Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim, and we feel we have no choice except to be thankful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then Allah also, He reminds us just about this concept of thanks. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, لِلَّهِ مَا فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ إِنَّ اللَّهَ هُوَ الْغَنِيُّ الْحَمِيدُ. That to Allah belongs the heavens and the earth. Indeed, Allah is free of need and He is praiseworthy. Reminding us that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when we thank Allah, don't ever think that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is in need of the thanks. Don't ever think that when we submit ourselves and pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that He is indeed in need of that from us. Allah is ghani. Allah is free of need. He is al-Hamid. He is praiseworthy. Whether we praise Him or we don't, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is praiseworthy. And we have to reflect upon that sometimes when we conduct ourselves in our ibadat, when I'm coming to salah, if I'm praying and so on, I feel, okay, I got the minimum amount that I needed done. I checked off the box. And the relationship to our connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we have to remember that we're not doing this only for Allah. Like Allah is not in need of this, rather we are the ones in need of it. And when we come to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when we come to the salah, for example, that we feel a sense of love to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we look forward to this ibadah. We look forward to coming to Jummah. We look forward to meeting our brothers. That this is an obedience and a worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala filled with love. And then, we start to think, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He's created all of the heavens and the earth. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is so majestic. All of these things, the solar system, the weather changes, everything is being managed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah is ghani, He is free of need, so I'm just a peon in this. And we sometimes feel that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is too grand for us to ask for help. And this again is another mistake. We have to take all of the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and put them together. And it gives us a clear vision of who our Rabb is. That, for example, if you wanted to compare this to, the CEO of a company or the president of a nation, we may think that person is so busy, they have so many things to take care of. I'm just a normal employee, I'm just a citizen. They don't know about me. And sometimes many of us have somewhat of an attitude like this to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, where when we have a problem aching us, when we have a worry, we go everywhere else except turning to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, thinking that we are too small, thinking that we are insignificant. And Yusuf alayhi salam, he reminds us of this. In the story of Yusuf, that many of us are familiar with, we know the trials and tribulations he went through, where he was thrown into a well by his brothers, taken to a faraway country, thrown into prison, and all of these things that happened, trial after trial, until finally the dream that he had in the beginning of the surah was fulfilled at the end. He reminds us about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He says, after raising his parents up and fulfilling the dream in the very beginning of the surah, he says, "Inna Rabbi latiful lima yasha, innahu huwa al-alimul hakim." He gives us another perspective of Allah. He says, "Inna Rabbi latiful lima yasha." Allah is so subtle and precise in what He wills. Though Yusuf alayhi salam was going through trial and trial, being thrown into the well, and not knowing if anybody hears him. Allah mentions actually in the surah, He says, "Allahu ghalibu ala amri." Allah is in control of His affairs. When He was taken out of prison, nobody could have thought that this leads to the final dream being fulfilled. But Yusuf alayhi salam, he says, Allah is precise in His affairs. All of our affairs, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is there with us. Huwa ma'akum aynama kuntum. He is with us wherever we are, and this is one of the attributes of Allah, that He is al-Latif. He is subtle in His plans. That Allah has a plan for us and we may not see it. We may think that this is terrible happening to us. Like Yusuf alayhi salam being thrown in the prison. That this is terrible, nobody understands what I am going through. But know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He is Latif, He is well aware. And as He reminds us, He is Al-Alimul Hakim. That more of His attributes are that He is the most knowledgeable, that He is the most wise. And this, it changes our perspective of Allah. When we hear these attributes of Allah, when we know He is Al-Hamid, Al-Ghani, Al-Hakim, Al-Alim, these are things that make us aware of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so we can have that possibility of having taqwa of Allah as much as we can. So we have to see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in all of our affairs. And this, many of these reminders, they come in the Quran. And these are in the Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, "Qur'anan Arabiyyan ghayra dhi i'wajin la'allahum yattaqun." That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He revealed this Quran without any crookedness. Why? لَعَلَّهُمْ يَتَّقُونَ, so they may have taqwa. The Quran is giving us these reminders. It is teaching us about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so we can fulfill that command from Allah to have taqwa of Allah, have that awareness of Him as much as we possibly can. And this awareness of Allah, it brings a love from us, from the slave, to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And a beautiful example of this, of just how someone can be so attached to reflecting upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's narrated that at the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, an imam who used to recite Surah Ikhlas, the surah that we all know, that our children know. They used to recite it in each and every rak'ah that he would pray. And the people praying behind him, they would complain and they say, why do you always recite Surah Ikhlas? Why can you recite something else? Other surahs, why? And he said, this is what I want to do. If you don't like it, go to somebody else. So the people, they complained to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And the people complained to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he told them to ask him, why does he do so? Why does the man recite Surah Ikhlas in every prayer? And so the man says, this surah describes my Rabb, and I love to read his descriptions. This surah describes my Rabb, and I love to reflect upon the descriptions of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then they came back and they informed the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, inform him that his love for the surah has caused him to enter Jannah. Inform him that his true love for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, upon hearing the descriptions of his Rabb, will be a source for him to enter Jannah. And this is, an example for all of us. It's something so simple as Surah Ikhlas. How do we think through it? Do we reflect upon it? And do we see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in all of our affairs after doing so? أقول قولي هذا استغفر الله لي ولكم فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. And so, the goal is to have that awareness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we said that the first thing is the knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, reflecting upon His names, on His attributes. And and having really a love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, A love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it translates into a love of His names and His attributes. And and for us, if we don't care about the names and attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's almost as if we don't care about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's something, it's a stark reminder for all of us that Allah mentions His names and attributes for a reason. And we have to take that step to connecting with them. We have to take that step. There's so many resources around us. Whether you want to download podcasts, go on YouTube, in the masajid, there's so many lectures available to us that reflect upon the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and provide us reminder after reminder. And we have to build this arsenal up within our hearts. So as we go through different times in our life, the ups and the downs, that we see not just those physical things in front of us, but rather we see the attribute of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala being manifested within that. And what this does is it gives us a good thought of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we know in the Hadith al-Qudsi, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, يقول الله أنا عند ظن عبدي به, that Allah said, I am as my servant thinks of me. And we have to have that positive outlook of Allah, balancing all of His attributes together. And again, it's narrated also, Imam Ahmad rahimahullah, narrated that Jabir radiallahu anhu, he said that 3 nights before the death of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he heard him say, لا يموتن أحدكم إلا وهو يحسن الظن بالله عز وجل, that none of you should die except having that good thought of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that sincere trust in Allah, the most exalted, the most wise. That never find yourself thinking about, without being in that condition of having this close relationship to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that brings us to the second part of the ayah, where Allah says, not only should you have taqwa to Him as much as you can, وَلَا تَمُوتُنَّ إِلَّا وَأَنْتُمْ مُسْلِمُونَ, and do not die except in that state of submission to Allah. And none of us know when we will die. None of us know when that time will pass. Whether it will be a day, a week, a month, years, decades, whatever it is. So we can't control the time that we die. But what we can do is make sure that we are struggling and we are working hard. فَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ مَا اسْتَطَعْتُمْ, that we are having this consciousness and this awareness of Allah as much as we can. And much of that is to make sure we follow those 3 things that were mentioned in the beginning. That we remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and we don't forget Him. That we are reflecting upon His ayahs, on His signs. And secondly, that we are thankful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We are seeing all of His favors and we are cognizant of them. And we are not ungrateful for what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us. And the most so of that is iman. The fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed each and every one of us to be here. And He guided us to Islam. He guided us to this deen. This is a favor from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that none of us can truly be thankful enough for. And then lastly, that once we have this love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that we obey Him and we don't disobey Him. That we seek to protect ourselves from His punishment. And that is part of the meaning of taqwa, is wiqaya, is putting a protection between ourselves and the punishment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or His displeasure. That our love for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala drives us to obey Him, drives us to please Him, and drives us to stay away from the thought of displeasing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us amongst those who remember Him, who don't forget, who thank Him, who are not ungrateful, and those who obey Him, and those who do not disobey Him. A few reminders or announcements. Please make dua for Sheikh Tariq, his grandmother, who passed away last night, and the brother-in-law of our board of directors, Brother Farid al-Qasim, who passed away in Lebanon. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant them Jannatul Firdaus and give the families immense patience. Ameen. Also, please join us right after Jum'ah. We are hosting Miss Farah Nabulsi, a filmmaker who is visiting the U.S. to show her new movie. Today they took my son at the Cinquest Film Festival in San Jose. We'll be showing a 45-minute of her new movie, followed by a Q&A session. Please join us. This is an open, free event, and refreshments will be served. OCIF and ICOI Bonfire is today, Friday, March 3rd at 6 p.m. at Aliso Beach in Laguna. Our second play date with Temple Beth El and Shepherd of the Hills Church families is on Sunday, March 5th at Pavilion Park in Mission Viejo. Please bring your kids and join us, see the flyer outside. Also, lastly, OCIF is hosting Positive Parenting in the Muslim Home, a presentation on March 17th at 7 p.m. Come meet and greet the authors, Sister Noha Al-Shughairi and Sister Munira Legovic. And also, lastly, check out our TV slides for all other events and activities. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم اللهم أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه اللهم فرج هم المهمومين واقض الدين عن المدينين اللهم اشف مرضانا وعاف مبتلانا اللهم اعز الإسلام والمسلمين وانصر المستضعفين في كل مكان برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين عباد الله إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون وأقيموا الصلاة.